Chapter 4 Input Events and Screens. A screen structure that receives user keyboard input and draws on the screen. We are now capable of drawing output graphics on the screen, with the resizing term from the previous chapter. Our real goal is a game where the user can make decisions and give input based on what we have drawn on the screen. We want to build user interfaces where the user can interact with the games we draw. Our game will be built as a series of screens that take input and draw output. That means we must support user input too, like keyboard, mouse, or touch events. We devised the concept raw screen, which can draw and receive keyboard input somehow. We will then implement our game as raw screens. We define the interface raw screen IF for these input-output screens, like this. The on-key stuff is about getting user keyboard input to the screens, which we will need in a bit. To implement it, we can make the following small test screen as an example, the 04 raw test screen. The idea is that we remember whatever the user last typed in the property called key, and then use test term to draw it on the screen in draw. With this, we have the concept of screens. Each screen will use the term to show the user some specific information. Screens are what people sometimes call views. Examples are the main gameplay screen, the game over screen, various sub-menu choice screens, and possibly an intro screen or a main game menu screen. To run the screens, we need a mechanism that can host them, pass input to them, and ask them to draw on the screen. We will build it out of the parts from the previous chapter. We had built resizing term, a nice resize feature for our terminal, but its parts were kind of disconnected. It was some loose pieces we just declared and fitted together directly in our main index file. Instead, we will now combine those parts into a single class. We will name this screen host the Event Manager. To wit, Event Manager ties together the loose bits from the earlier index03 resize. But crucially, it doesn't do the actual screen part. Instead, we have extracted that into the interface raw screen IF, which will represent the generic any kind of screen. You can now test it with this index04 raw screen. As you press keys, you should see them displayed on screen, foreshadowing that keyboard input will influence what is drawn on the screens.